Hey there guys, welcome to the video. My name is Pushpinder Gill, and in this video we're going to be talking about the trigonometric functions of sum and differences of angles. So it all started with this circle here with the radius of 1 centimeter, right? So it's all started with this circle it had a radius of 1 centimeter. So let's suppose there is a kind of a point which is a comma b. In that case we were able to say that the value of cosine of x, that is the angle that this makes with the x-axis, that is this cosine of x, is actually equal to a, and the value of sine of b, sine of x, is actually equal to b. So this is the relationship that we had. So right now what I'm going to do is, instead of writing a and b here, I'm going to write down cosine of x as the x coordinate, and I'm going to write down as the sine of x as the y coordinate, right? And what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to add another line here, and I'm going to call this whole angle as angle y, right? So I'm going to call this angle as angle y, and this point over here I'm going to call this point as P2. So this is P1, this is P2, and from here I'm going to call the x coordinate is going to be equal to the cosine of, which is x plus y. As you can clearly see, this is x plus y. This is the cosine of x plus y, and the y coordinate is going to be equal to the value of sine of x plus y, right? So this is point P2 here, so that is point P2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join this line all the way till here like this. This is nothing but I'm going to call this point P4, which is 1, 0, right? And that is there. And I'm actually going to add another line here. I'm just going to use a different colored pen for this. Let's say if this is y, so I'm going to add another angle which is going to be equal to negative of y. So suppose you know that if the angles go clockwise, the sign of the angle is negative, right? So if the angle goes clockwise, so I'm just going to add another angle which is negative of y, and I'm going to join these points right here. Now since this is negative of y, I'm going to call this point as P3. In this point, since the coordinates, it's going from all the way till y, so the x coordinate is going to be equal to the cosine of negative x, and the y coordinate is going to be equal to sine of negative y, right? So these are the points, and this is the setup. Now here's one thing that we can actually learn here. It's that if we actually look at this triangle, the triangle P1, so let's call this as the origin. We look at this triangle P1, O and P3, and we look at this triangle which is P2, O and P4. So what is P1, O and P3? So P1, O and P3, it's something like this, right? This is P1, O and P3. And what is P2, O and P4? P2, O and P4, according to the diagram, it's like this. Now if you look at this, let's suppose if you call this as an angle alpha, this angle over here, it's y plus alpha, right? So this angle over here, it's y plus alpha. In this case as well, this angle is also y plus alpha, right? And we know that OP1 is the radius. So this is something which is the radius. Similarly, OP3 is the radius. This is also the radius. Similarly over here, OP2 is the radius. That means this is the radius. And OP4 is the radius, that means this is the radius, which means these two triangles are congruent to each other. So these two triangles are congruent to each other. Why they are congruent? Because one of the angles is same and two sides are same. So by this, if two angles are same, and if one angle is same and two sides are same, that means the third side has to be same, which means I can say that the side P1 and P3, the side P1 and P3 here, it's equal to the side P2 and P4. That is equal to the side P2 and P4. So I'm just gonna explain it again. Now I'm gonna mess up my diagram here. This triangle is congruent to this triangle. Why is that? It's because one of the angles is same and two sides, these sides are all radiuses, which means this side here, it's equal to this side here, right? So P1, P3 is actually equal to P2, P4. Now that, since we're talking in distance terms, now if we use the distance formula between 2 points, let me just write down the distance formula. Distance formula states that if we want to find out the distance between these 2 points, the distance between these 2 points would be given as under root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. And since we know that P1, P3, the distance of P1, P3 is equal to the distance of P2, P4. And since the distances are equal, even their square of the distances are going to be equal, right? That is something which is going to be true. Now what is P1, P3? So P1, P3, so I'm just going to write down the points here. P1 is nothing but that is cosine of x and sine of x. And P2, it's nothing but cosine of x plus y and sine of x plus y. P3, it's cosine of negative y and sine of negative y. And P4, it's 1, 0. Now we have to say that the distance between P1, P3 is equal to the distance between P2, P4, which means distance between P1 and P3 that is equal to cosine of x minus cosine of negative y. So P1, P3 distance is going to be equal to cosine of x minus cosine of negative y whole square minus, as we know the distance formula here, that is y2 minus y1 plus x2 minus x1 whole square under root. So it's going to be plus. That is the distance between the y coordinates, that is sine x minus sine of negative y whole square and under root of it, right? Similarly, P2, P4, it's going to be equal to, so this is P2 and this is P4, which is going to be equal to cosine of x plus y minus 1. So cosine of x plus y minus 1, again whole square, plus it's P2 and P4, that is sine of x plus y minus 0. So sine of x plus y minus 0 whole square and the under root of it. Now since this is equal to this, I can actually cut the under roots and I can simply say that this expression here, that is, so I'm just going to draw a line like this, that this expression here, that the value of cosine of x minus this here, which is cosine of minus y, the whole square, plus sine of x minus sine of negative y whole square, it's equal to cosine of x plus y minus 1 whole square plus sine of x plus y minus 0 whole square. So I'm going to solve the left hand side and the right hand side differently here. Okay, so let's solve the left hand side, that is this expression here. So if I kind of open this up, a minus b whole square is equal to a square minus b square plus a square plus b square minus 2ab. So if I kind of open this up, this is going to be cosine square x plus cos square of minus y. Now there is one thing that you need to know, that the value of cosine of negative y is going to be equal to cosine of y, and the value of sine of negative y is going to be equal to negative sine y, something that we have already established in our previous videos. So this over here, it's going to be cosine square y, because the negative doesn't matter, minus 2 times cos x and cos of y. So that is, I've opened this term up. Now let's open this term up. So it's going to be a minus b whole square here. which is going to be equal to plus sine square x. Since this is sine of negative y, this is going to become negative sine y, which means this is going to become sine x plus sine y. So if I kind of square this up, this is plus sine square y. Now this is going to be a positive number, plus 2 times sine x and sine y. Now if I add all the things up, now we know that sine square x plus cos square x is equal to 1. We know that cos sine square y plus cos square y is equal to 1. Minus 2 times cos x cos y plus 2 times sine x and sine y. Right? So this is what we have as the left hand side. Now let's see the right hand side. Now if we see the right hand side, which is this, if you open this up, this is going to be a square, which is cos square of x plus y, plus b square, which is 1, minus 2ab, which is minus 2 times x plus y. And if I open this up, this is going to be sine square x plus y. This is just going to be sine square x plus y because this is 0 here. It doesn't matter at all. If I add both of them up, sine square x plus y and cos square x plus y would be 1 plus this 1 minus 2 times cos of x plus y. So this is nothing but 2 minus 2 into cos of x plus y, and this over here is nothing but 2 minus 2 cos x cos y plus 2 times sine x sine y. Now we already know that they both are equal. The left hand side is actually equal to the right hand side. So we'll kind of equate both the things up. Now let's just equate both the things up, which states that that is 2 minus 2 cos of x into cos of y, right? So that is 2 minus, sorry, this is 2 minus 2 cos of x and cos of y plus 2 times sine of x and sine of y, which is actually equal to this expression here, which is this one, 2 minus 2 cos of x plus y, which is equal to 2 minus 2 cos of x plus y. Now what we can do is we can actually eliminate this 2 throughout, which is very consistent everywhere. So we're going to have 1 minus cos of x into cos of y plus sine of x into sine of y. This is again 1 here minus cos of x plus y. And I'm going to eliminate this 1 also, and I'm going to revert these negative signs also. So that means I have the value of cos of x plus y that is equal to, so just let me write the negative of cos of x plus y, let's write it this way, is equal to negative of cos x cos y plus sine x sine y. Right? Now if I kind of multiply by negative 1 on both sides, I'll have cos of x plus y to be equal to, we have cos x cos y minus sine x sine y. So that is a very, very important expression for you to understand. Right? So I suppose you've understood this, that cos of x plus y is equal to cos x cos y minus sine x sine y. So that is one important expression. Now let's just use this expression to actually find out another expression. So let's suppose if I want to find the value of cos of x minus y. Now that is going to be equal to cos of x plus negative y. Right? So this is going to be equal to cos of x into cos of negative y plus, not plus, it's a minus there, minus sine of x into sine of negative y. Now we already know that cos of negative y is going to be equal to cos of y, and sine of negative y is going to be equal to negative of sine y, something that we established in the previous videos. So if this over here is going to open up like cos of x into cos of y, this minus is going to overtake this minus, make it a plus. So positive of sine x into sine y. Which means I can say that cosine of x minus y is equal to cos of x into cos of y plus sine of x into sine of y. So that is what we have. Again, a very, very important expression. Right? So I suppose you're understanding this point over here, guys. Now let's say we want to find out another expression, that is what is the value of cos of 90 minus x. I'm just calling this as 90 degrees, right? So cos of 90 minus x, or it can also be called as cos of pi by 2 minus x. That is going to be equal to, so we know that cos of x minus y is equal to cos of x minus y is equal to cos x cos y plus sin x sin y, right? So that is something that we know. So that is going to be cos x cos y plus sin x sin y. So from here we will know what is the value of cos 90 or cos 90 degrees. The value of cosine of 90 degrees is nothing but 0. So this is, which is 0, this is 1, which means we have the value of cosine of 90 minus x, or the value of cosine of pi by 2 minus x is actually equal to sin x. A very, very important result, that cosine of pi by 2 minus x is equal to sin x. Again, a very important result, right? Suppose you'll remember that. Now let's try and find another important result, that is the value of sine of 90 minus x. Right? Now let's try to find the value of sine of 90 minus x. Since we know that the value of cos of 90 minus x is equal to sine of x, then cos of 90 minus x would be equal to cosine of 90 minus this angle, which is 90 minus x. You can even call it that if we say that 90 minus x is theta, then sine theta would actually be equal to cosine of 90 minus theta. Right? So same thing I've done here. So if you kind of open this expression up here, that is sine of 90 minus x is equal to cosine of 90 minus 90 plus x. Right? So that this 90 and this 90 will get eliminated. So I'll have this to be equal to cosine of x, which means I can say that sine of 90 minus x, or the value of sine of pi by 2 minus x, is going to be equal to the value of cosine of x. Again, a very important result. Now let's go ahead and find out the value of sine of x plus y. Right? Now sine of x plus y. So let's say that x plus y is actually equal to theta. So the value of sine theta, it's going to be equal to the value of cosine of 90 minus theta, an expression that is right here, right? That sine of theta is equal to cosine of 90 minus theta. So which means that the value of sine of x plus y is equal to the value of cosine of 90 minus x plus y. Now we're going to use the expression that cosine of a minus b, so something that we're going to use, that is the value of cosine of a minus b is actually equal to cosine a cosine b, something that we've just established, plus sine a sine b. I'm writing it here so that you start to remember it. So that is equal to the value of cosine a, which is equal to this, that is cosine of, since we want to know the value of x and y, so we'll say cosine of 90 minus x and minus y. So we're going to call this as cosine of 90 minus x minus y. So if we now kind of open this thing up, that is kind of break this up into this part, so we're going to have the value of sine of x plus y to be equal to cosine of a, which is the value of cosine of 90 minus x, that is cosine of 90 minus x, into cosine of y, plus sine of a, which is sine of 90 minus x, into sine of y. So if we kind of now we use the expressions, what is the value of cosine of 90 minus x? So from here you know that the value of cosine of 90 minus x is equal to sine x from here, which means cosine of 90 minus x would be equal to sine x, and this would be cosine of y, plus what is sine of 90 minus x? Sine of 90 minus x is equal to cos x. So cosine of x into sine of y. That means we have the value of sine of x plus y to be equal to sine of x into cosine of y plus cosine of x into sine of y. So I suppose you're understanding this point over here, guys. Again, if we want to find the value of sine of x minus y, we will say plus of minus y, and we will just substitute y as negative y. So we're going to have sine of x into cosine of minus y plus cosine of x into sine of minus y. Now again, you know that sine x, this is going to be simply cosine of y, no negative coming out. However, over here, this negative will come out, and we'll have the value of sine of x minus y to be equal to sine x cos y minus cos x sine y. So that is the value of sine of x minus y. So again, these two are very, very important expressions which are there, right? So I suppose you're understanding this point over here, guys. Another few expressions that that I will actually do in this video is the value of cosine of 90 plus x. So what will be the value of cosine of 90 plus x? That is going to be again cos of a plus b, something that we just derived, that is cos of a into cos of b minus sine of a into sine of b. So that is going to be, since we know that cos of 90 is 0, so this is going to be 0, minus sine of 90 is 1 sine x. So that means I know that the value of cos of 90 plus x is actually equal to negative sine x. So that is already there. Another expression would be that is sine of 90 plus x. Now we know that if we apply the value of sine a sine b plus cos a cos b, so it's going to be sine 90 into sine x plus cos 90 into cos x. So we know that sine 90 is 1 and cos 90 is 0. That means I've applied it a little wrong. This is going to be sine 90 and cos x plus cos 90 sine x, right? So we know that the value of cos 90 is 0, so this is 0. So that means sine of 90 plus x is going to be equal to cosine of x, because this is 1. So that is again an important expression that you can understand. In fact, you don't need to learn these expressions, because you already know that what is the value of cosine of x plus y and cosine of x minus y. Just few more that I like to do, few more important expressions that you can actually use, that is cosine of pi minus x, right? So the cosine of pi minus x is going to be equal to cosine of pi into cosine of x plus sine of pi into sine of x. Now you know that the value of sine of x is 0, and the value of cosine of pi, it's actually going to be equal to negative 1, which means the value of cosine of pi minus x is going to be equal to negative of cosine x. Again, a very, very important result. Another important result would be that of sine of pi minus x, which is going to be equal to, sine of pi minus x is going to be equal to sine pi into cos x minus cos pi into sine x, right? So if we kind of use this again, so it's sine of x minus y is sine x and cos y minus cos x sine y. So the value of sine pi is 0, so that means this is 0, minus the value of this cos x is -1 into sin x, which means the value of sine of pi minus x is actually equal to sin x. So these are some important function results which will actually help you a lot in solving a lot of questions, right? So that is there. A few more important results. It's I would actually like to write down here, which you can actually find out on your own. That is, the value of cos of pi plus x is equal to negative of cosine x, and the value of cosine of 2 pi minus x it's actually equal to cosine x, and the value of sine of pi plus x it's actually equal to negative sine x, and the value of sine of 2 pi minus x is actually equal to negative sine x. So what you can do is you can actually try them out on your own and try to find them out using these expressions. That'll give you a good practice actually, right? So that is there. So in the future videos, we're going to be finding out some important results for these trigonometric functions, which involves tangent x plus y, which involves sine 3x or sine 2x or cos 2x or cosine 3x and all that. So in this video, I suppose you've understood what we're trying to establish. So let me just go ahead and write down the important. Let's just summarize what we have done in this video. So in this video, we came out with some very important results. The first important result was the value of cosine of x plus y, which is actually equal to the value of cosine of x into cosine of y plus the value of sine of x into sine of y. So that's the first important result. Second important result was cosine of x minus y, which is equal to cosine of x into cosine of y plus this is a minus here, you got to be careful with that. So cosine of x into cosine of y into sine of x into sine of y, right? And the third important result was about the value of cos of 90 minus x, which came out to be equal to sine x. The next important result was of sine of 90 minus x, which is equal to cosine x. And the next two important results that I'd like to highlight is sine of x plus y. Using all the above expressions, we found out that sine x plus y is equal to sine x cos y plus cos x sine y, and the value of the value of sine of x minus y was equal to sine x cos y minus cos x sine y, right? So these were the important results that we came out in this video here. So thank you very much for watching the video, guys. Thank you very much. Just make sure that you open up our website, that is perfect-scores.com, for more and more stuff, important stuff, and give us your valuable like on facebook.com/perfectscores, and don't forget to give us your valuable feedback on perfectscores89@gmail.com. This was Pushpender Gill, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.